As you know, there has been tremendous discussion, tremendous amounts of discussion in the news regarding the Defense of Marriage Act. And of course, the sock puppet media on both sides of the aisle have been going at it from different perspectives, but missing the point exactly. What do you think is the most important issue regarding the Defense of Marriage Act? Think of it. What's the thing, the issue, the point, the gravamen that is missed always? What is it? Simple. What is marriage? Marriage is divorce. Now, before you say, wait a minute, you don't understand the logic of this. In order for me to explain to you what marriage is legally under the law, I have to explain to you how marriage is undone, because you don't understand what happens until you try to remove it. Think two individuals. Remember we had these Chang and Eng, always a great crossword puzzle answer, the Siamese, I don't know if you can say that anymore, conjoined twins. Marriage is taking two individuals, separate, Chang and Eng, separated, and joining them, conjoining them. You're taking two separate entities and you're creating one. That's great if everything is groovy. If you try to undo that, then you find out what happened in this juridical angiogenesis. I will explain this to you. This is never discussed. This should be mandatory viewing by everybody who is getting their marriage stuff ready and going to caterers and photographers. They never talk about what does it mean legally. Well, we're going to talk about it now. And this is something you're going to want to copy, what am I saying, copy? To forward, to send to those, especially those young folks of any gender, any, whatever, this goes for everyone. Everyone. Send it to them. Let me remind you, as I am forced to do, please like this video, subscribe to the chapter, what am I talking about? To the channel, and hit that little bell so you're notified of new videos and the like. But first and foremost, a word from our sponsor, $2,000. That's where gold is headed. The growth will continue throughout 2023, with gold prices remaining elevated at an average price of $2,086 an ounce. All this according to Bank of America. It looks like they're right. At the beginning of December, gold crossed $1,800 and still climbing. If this year has taught us anything, it's that tangible assets are the only assets you can count on, like gold. And it's time to open a gold IRA now. Crypto keeps on tanking. Stocks are too volatile. Gold in your IRA is steady. So what are you waiting for? It's not too late. Thousands of people have retired comfortably with the help of Noble Gold Investments and their gold and silver IRAs. If you've been a hesitant investor, but one of the handful of Americans who can go for gold and silver in your IRA, now's the time to act. And if you get in before the end of the month, you'll bag an incredibly free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin with every qualified IRA of $20,000 or above. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Remember, there's always a risk of loss, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Now, let me begin by saying I love marriage. I am a happily married, deliriously happy husband married to the greatest woman who has ever walked this earth. I'm very lucky. And I encourage marriage and love and unions and this sharing of humanity. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I'm not one of these anti-marriage people. No. A lot of people make jokes about it. I don't. But I remember right after marriage, same-sex marriage, became legal in New York, I remember at the time talking to a friend of mine who's practices family law. I said, your business is going to boom because with marriage comes divorce. And that means divorce, separation, child custody, alimony maintenance, etc., etc. From the beginning of time that I can remember, I always thought it was funny that when you go to the courthouse and you go get your marriage license, there should be a little room that says, would you go in there and watch this video to explain to you what is marriage? What does it mean? What does it mean? Legally, what are you doing? When you get homestead exemption or you have driver's ed, they show you what the laws are, what it means. And I also said this, and I wasn't trying to be cute. Believe me, I wasn't. Everybody should watch, men should in particular, watch Fatal Attraction. They should show a movie. When I got my driver's license, when I was 16 years old, we had this class. You may have been through the same thing. And at the end of it, they showed a video, which is very interesting, a video of disaster after disaster. It was the most incredible thing in the world. It was like car wrecks and carnage and death. And I thought, oh my God. Because they had to show you what happens when something goes wrong. But they don't tell you that about marriage, do they? No, it's defense of marriage and everybody's happy. And it is happy. Until something goes wrong. Because what deep down inside, nobody will say, in the back of people's minds, they say, listen, I can promise anything I want. To have and a whole, richer and poorer, blah, 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 blah. But I know if things get really bad, I'm out of here. I'm Elvis, right? Isn't that what happens? That's what they think. It's true. Because of no-fault divorce and because of a variety of other aspects. Well, let's talk about, first of all, what is marriage? What is the interesting aspects? Marriage is something called tenancy by the entirety. It's also called the entireties, and it is a means by which two individual people can hold property that no one else can. We can hold property as joint. I'm not going to go into, this isn't a CLE class, but there's, tenants in common and joint tenants. And think of joint tenancy as somebody's on a checkbook with you. And the person whose name is on the checkbook can go to the bank and just get all your money. Just empty your account. It's theirs too. Or if somebody sues you, they can attach your friend, your co-tenant's, amount of the bank account too, because you hold it individually, severally, jointly. But there's this thing called tenancy by the entirety. Per tu et non per me. For the whole and not the half, the moiety, the portion. What does that mean? These individual people are joined together into this one unit as tenants by the entirety. Now, that may not sound like much to you, but it's huge. And with that comes other things. The General Accounting Office years ago suggested that there might be about 1,600 or so actual benefits that you as an individual hold. You and your spouse or wife, husband, whatever you want to call it. About 16 that only married people can have. Marriage rights and obviously and burial rights and hospital rights and visitation rights and tax benefits. You have this thing called children. Now children, you don't really have to be married to have custody and whatever, but it does become part of the synthesis, so to speak. There is that. What happens when a husband and wife, and I'm going to use this term just out of shorthand. Let's say the wife historically has helped with her husband's career, helping him through law school or medical school or staying at home, being a mother while he pursues a professional endeavor. And then when she's, 40, 50, he decides that he's going to run away with his secretary, his 23-year-old secretary, and dump his wife. She's invested her entire life into the marriage, into the unit. She has a stake in this entire corpus, this property called marital property. She has special equity in the business. She can claim that. You can't write a spouse out of the will. I'm being very, very generic. It's called pretermitted spouse, an elective share. Oh, no, you can do that with kids. You can write your kids out of a will, but not a spouse. They have a right to do this because it's a different story. It's a different concept. The notion of divorce. This is where it gets interesting. When two people meet and they form, divorce is thought of as splitting the couple in two. They don't split. Just like two conjoined human beings, no matter how careful you split, somebody's going to lose an arm and a leg. And usually, historically, many men will say it is the male. Courts also, which is not necessarily marriage per se, but courts still adhere, if not officially, but theoretically, to the tender years doctrine, which gives a mother a preference in the care and maintenance of their children over, especially when they are of tender years. This is the part that men historically found out. They have to pay an ex-wife. Not in all cases, because for every story of a man who has been, let's say, abused in his eye by virtue of the family law courts, there are women who said, I never got a penny. So it's a balance. Don't think it's at all fair, but people will say, I have to pay her what? That's right. Maintenance, alimony, to rehabilitate, to bring her back. This is, and then you can find out, I never realized what being married was, what I was, how we were sharing and we were happy. And now I'm out of the house, I'm away from my kids, and I'm paying, and I'm not even there? That's right. Wait a minute. I give her the money, typically, and I don't even know if it gets to my kids. Uh-huh. And your point is what exactly? What are you talking about? You have never seen enmity, and in some cases viciousness, like you've seen in a divorce, in a dissolution. It's the worst place for newly minted judges to go, family law. Family law can be wonderful. Adoptions and also can be terrible because family law is this part that people forget. This is abuse, abandonment, neglect, termination of parental rights cases, children, horrible neglect and abandonment and abuse, and also divorce. And nobody ever is happy. It's very, very risky. You'll see some of the most heavily armed bailiffs and court officers in family law court because of the absolute. This is the end of a marriage, of dreams, of a family, of a unit. Listen to Randy Travis, No Place Like Home, and Digging Up Bones. Oh my God, the songs, Divorce, and George and Tammy, and oh my God. It's something because you never knew what marriage was. You didn't know what you were doing. You knew what you were doing, but you didn't know what undoing it means. That's the thing. Nobody tells you. You just assume it's great and I can love anybody I want. That's terrific. It's the way it should be. And that's the way it is. But undoing this legally is something that people don't understand. They've never understood this. They've never been in the position where they've found themselves thinking, I wish I knew this. I wish I knew this. Here's a question for you. In fact, I'm always the worst. Whenever new people are getting married, I ask, what are you accomplishing through marriage that you can't accomplish individually through contract, agreement, domestic partnership, civil union? And I always get this look like, shut up, because there are many people to this day who say, listen, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want your fancy schmancy theories. I'm getting married. I'm going to get a ring. I'm going to have a wedding. I'm going to have a reception. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have a shower. We're going to have this. I'm going to take my corning ware. I'm going to take my blenders. Take my Cuisinart. We're going to go home. Here's a house. I'm Mrs. So-and-so, and that is it. And I don't want to hear anything about what you're saying. And I can dig that. I understand it. But believe me, it doesn't hurt you to understand what marriage is. It'll make the marriage better. Understand what you're doing. It's, as the kids say, cool. Once you understand it, you'll say, this is terrific. But when you think of marriage as this ephemeral, ethereal, kind of a mystical, magical thing, which it is, you miss the point completely. You got it? Good. Again, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, like this video. We need your metrics and algorithms and all of that stuff, and please subscribe to it by hitting, and also hit that little bell so you're notified of new videos and live streams. In any event, thank you so much for watching. Have a great and a glorious day, and comment as you see fit.